Hello Internet! Today is a special day. 2.9 is finally released and it's probably one of the biggest release ever from Advanced Themer. It includes a lot of goodies like the revamped Advanced CSS feature that includes a full integration with WPCodebox. It includes SASS code, a new editor, a lot of new features inside Advanced CSS. It also includes a new Codepen Converter, AI generated structure, and a lot of game changers. So stick with me, and I'm going to review all the main changes in this release. Okay guys, the first feature I want to talk about is the revamped Advanced CSS editor that you can find in Builder Tweaks on the bottom. You don't have to enable anything to make it work inside the builder. For now, we are going to keep SASS integration disabled. Just save the settings just in case, and let's reload the builder. I'm using a shortcut inside the top bar, but you can also open inside the AT menu. But let's just open it and have a look at the new feeling of it. So you see that by default, we have now a new design, and we have now 3 files here: the page CSS, the global CSS, and the child CSS, which come from your child theme. Going to talk in a moment. So there are a lot of changes, and it will take time to cover everything, but I'm going to try to be as fast as possible. So the page CSS, of course, is the CSS applied to your pages. So if I'm going to put my editor on the left, so you can see what happens inside the preview, okay? So if I'm in the page CSS and I do body, background, green, okay, you see that the CSS apply on the fly inside your builder, and this CSS, since it's inside the page CSS, will only apply inside the page, right? Let's remove it. Okay, I'm going to switch from page CSS to global CSS and enter the same CSS declaration. You see that it applies also inside the preview, but now we are inside the global CSS, so this code will apply everywhere on each page of your website. Okay? A new thing is you can now edit your child theme CSS inside the builder. So let's just select child theme. And so you see in the child theme there are commented data. It's really important you don't touch this information, because if you delete the commented data, your child theme will be broken. Okay, and this applies also without using it inside the builder. So I expect you already know this, so you don't have to touch anything from the commented area, and just apply your code. So background red, let's say this time. It will apply on every page of your website since the child theme is global. You can save, of course, now it's applying, but if you want to save it inside the child theme, you need to save. Let's say save and continue. And if we now reload the page, you see that it still applies. In our child theme, we still have the body background red. Okay, so it's persistent. Right, so that's it for the 3 default CSS. But you can now, in the new version, add your own file. So max file now, enter, and it will create a new file. Okay. You can, for the custom files, you can decide to disable and enable. You can delete it if you want. And you have also extra option for the custom files. So if you open the advanced settings here, you see that we can change the priority. We can decide it to enqueue it on front end, inside the builder, or in Gutenberg blocks. In front end, it's easy, it's on your website. In the builder, is if you want to that your CSS that you write apply also inside the builder for maybe builder announcements, you can just apply this to enqueue in the builder. And for Gutenberg blocks, like it said, if you need to apply this CSS inside your blocks inside Gutenberg, you just have to enqueue it in Gutenberg here. For now, I'm going to keep it easy and just do in front end. By the way, now we didn't enable SASS, so the default type of file is CSS. You can't change it. But if you enable SASS, you are able to change it to SCSS or partials. But I'm going to cover this a bit later. Okay, so this is the first part for the organization. You can, of course, create multiple one, okay, file 2, and you can easily toggle these files to debug when you want, okay? Let's put it on the left because I want to show you, sorry, I want to remove the options. I want to, and I'm going to remove the background reds from here and save and continue, okay. Maybe it require, did I put this, okay, no, let's refresh. Okay, now I want to show you a couple of features that are included here. So you see that we can comment. So if I do body background reds, okay, I can comment any line of code by just clicking on the comment icon here. I can decide to go full screen. So if I want to edit inside the full screen, you see everything here is full screen. And there is a new addition, the selector picker. So this is really useful when you are using shortcodes or maybe a form from third-party plugins and you don't have access to the classes or global classes. You can just use the selector picker. So let's create really quick our header here. Let's add a class. I'm going to be really generic and I will create heading class. You'll see why. And I'm going to use the selector picker. So click on the selector picker and go into preview, and you see that there is a red border when I hover my elements. And if I click on the heading, you see that it will generate a unique selector for it. Okay, and I can start styling here and say color red. And you see that our heading is colored red now. Okay, this selector is created because it's a generic class. It could be utility classes or anything. But if you decide, let's remove it. If you decide now, let's close the advanced CSS to rename. Let's rename it and let's make it a BEM class, heading class. Okay, let's reopen advanced CSS, selector picker, select the picker, and you see that it's optimized for BEM classes because we assume that BEM classes are unique, okay, and it doesn't need parents to be a unique selector. So the script recognizes it's a BEM class and it doesn't have all the parent selectors to make it unique, okay. There are also some other features here in advanced feature here. If you click it, you see that you have add component selectors, just like before. If you click on the section, for example, let's remove this and generate add component selector. It will, of course, it's wrong here, it's a root, but let's just remove it for now. And you see that it will create the selectors of our components. So the container that has no class, so it added the ID, and our heading class is added too. So you can add the component selectors to advanced CSS. Okay. Another one is Beautify CSS. So if I write body color red, okay, all messed up. Let's beautify CSS, and you see that it will create the correct indent. Right? Not losing too much time here. Variabilize CSS, I'm going to talk about it later because it's also a feature in SuperPowerCSS, really powerful. And the last one, sorry, it's extra class and add them to the global classes. This is something that already existed in the previous version, but let's just make a little refresh. If I create a my class that doesn't exist, this class doesn't exist inside my global class list. And let's say I want to add this class as global class, okay? I just have to click here, extra class, one class exported successfully. And if I now come back to my class list, you see that my class has been created correctly. And so you can use this class. You see that when I hover and I apply, the color red is applied because it refers to this declaration, okay? So this is for the advanced features inside Advanced CSS. Now, like you see here, we also have some new integration for AI. So let me make sure that my API key is correctly entered. Okay, I'm going to save here and refresh. Okay, and we are going to create some AI generated CSS. Let's go to Max File, and let's say I have a block section. Please create all the selectors for the elements. Okay, let's click on run it. And you see that it generates all the selectors with some basic styles here. It adds the CSS here. Let's delete it. It's a bug. Anyway, it's pretty okay, right? It's pretty okay. Now we added CSS to the file, but there are cases where you want to edit the existing code. Okay, let's create an error. Let's delete this semicolon. Okay, and we are going to ask him to transform all the classes to be BEM classes. Okay, so we just have to click on the edit existing content, and let's say transform the current selectors into BEM classes. Okay. Also correct any potential CSS error. Okay, let's run it. And it will rewrite all our CSS. Here you see generated again some unwanted code. But all our classes are now BEM classes. And you see that the error that we created here, the semicolon, is now corrected. So our code is applying correctly. Okay, so this is it. This is it for the CSS part. Now, make sure, of course, when you are dealing with custom CSS here, and in general, you want always to save and continue. Otherwise, it won't save the content inside the database, and you will lose everything. Okay. All right. So let's come back to the settings, and I want now to builder tweaks to enable the SASS integration. Let's save and let's reload. So once this is done, you see that we have now two new files, default files. We have mixin files and a partial file. So of course, and all our page and global files are now able to write SCSS inside it. Okay. So let's go to global CSS, for example. Let's ask AI to create some complex SCSS declaration. declarations. Okay. And again, it creates this SCSS, which we don't want to. Okay, as soon as I remove it, you see that we have now a live error checker here. So for example, if I have some bad declaration here, you see there error invalid CSS. Because you have to keep in mind that in this version of Advanced CSS, every SASS code is compiled live into your website, into vanilla CSS. So the code is applying directly inside the builder. So if there is some error, the script isn't able to compile the CSS file correctly, and it will generate an error. Okay. So if there is an error, you will see this notice on the top right, and you can just fix it as soon as it's fixed. CSS query compiled on the server, right? But and let's save this for now. Okay, it's correctly compiled. If you want to see the compiled version, we have on the top here a button to see the compiled version. You see all the vanilla CSS created by the script. Okay, let's come back, click again, and you come back to the SASS code. Of course, if you are a pro of SASS, you know that you don't want your mixins and your partials inside the same file, but you want your mixins here. Let's copy and put it inside, sorry, the mixin file. Okay, and remove it from the global. Okay, let's see if it has, for example, if we had some partials, so I will say color. Okay, and I will put this and remove color here. You see that it compiled correctly, but you don't want these variables declared inside your file. You want to copy this, put it inside your partials, and remove from your global style sheet. And it's still compiling correctly. Okay? Because the mixins and the partial are shared inside all the files that you create inside Advanced CSS and SuperPowerCSS. Okay? So the important thing to remember is inside mixins and partials, since they are shared with all your other files, you don't want to put some code that will print something on the front end. Okay, otherwise you are going to duplicate this code every time you write SASS code inside the builder. Okay, so you want to keep the partials with partials. Okay, don't put class in here, because this class will be printed everywhere you use SASS code. Okay, you don't want to do that. Just keep your partials inside your partial, mixins inside the mixins, and you are good to go. And inside the global, you see we only have the include. Okay, so you can include the mixins using the correct syntax, and all this code which is going to be printed in the website is on the global CSS. If you want to create multiple mixins or partials, you can do it. So let's say partials 2 in my custom code. Okay, and if I go to the advanced settings, you see that now I can change the type. The type when you enable SASS, the default one is SCSS, but you can change it to partial, and it will become a partial where you can say color 2 red. Okay, let's remove this. And in my global now, I can use color 2. Okay, view the compiled version, and my background is correctly red. Okay. Okay, that's it for the advanced themer part. But the last thing I want to show you is the integration with WPCodebox. So in the theme settings, plugins, let's activate WPCodebox, and I show you really quick what I created. I created 2 files. My WPCB file, where I created a background red on the body, and a custom folder with my second file where I have background orange. Okay, this one is enabled, the first one is not. Okay, let's reload it. And you see that the background orange is already applied. If you open it, you see that we have our WPCodebox file, which is on the root of the file. Okay, so it's WPCodebox. And if I have any custom folder, okay, it will separate it with the roots. And my second file here is available. If I click on them, I can see what has been declared in WPCodebox, but it's not all. I can change anything from here. Let's say I want to change it to green now, and you see that it applies directly inside the builder. So every change you do is on the fly. Let's save and continue. Come back to my file here. Let's reload. And you see that the background green has been updated. So everything that you change here in ATE will reflect inside WPCodebox, which is super cool. Let's say I want to disable this CSS file, okay? And now the orange one is applying, okay? Let's save and reload again. And you see that our file, that is green, has been disabled. So you can toggle on and off any file inside AT, and it will automatically be synced with WPCodebox. And okay, I'm going to stop here because it's already more than 20 minutes we are covering this feature, and we have a lot of things to cover. So here's the idea. Let me know if you like this new integration. I think it's super powerful, and you can now manage. It's a style manager now, and you can pretty much create everything. And the file created by AT are actually physical files on the server, so it's not loaded from the database, but it's going to be generated inside the servers in order to be able to be cached by any caching plugin, okay? And it's really secure because it's not loading from the database, but it's actually enqueued from a real CSS file on your server. So I think it's pretty sick. Let me know in the comments if you like it, and I'm going to now go ahead on the next feature. Alright guys, the second feature I want to show you is the Codepen Converter. So if I open the AT main menu, by the way, you see that the AT main menu has now a new design. And you see in the structure panel here, we have a new item, Codepen Converter. So you can now convert any code. Don't be fooled by the name, because if you open here, you see that we have the typical Codepen design, but you can actually use this tool as an HTML parser, and also it's included some Emmet functionalities that I'm going to review. But yeah, basically you can convert any kind of HTML, CSS or JavaScript into a native component inside Bricks using the elements of Bricks. So just to demonstrate it, I just found this fancy card on Codepen. And you see that when I hover it, there is Mario that is popping up like this, okay? Or can we replicate it with Advanced Themer? We are just going to copy the HTML from here and paste it inside the HTML window. Okay, so you see that it's correctly done. We have a footer here. The footer corresponds to this section here. We don't need it, we just need the card, right? So we are just going to delete the footer for now, not needed. Okay, let's go back to the fancy card and copy the CSS. Okay, and also copy the JavaScript here. By the way, you should always be cautious when you do things like this, because, for example, this is not a great way to insert JavaScript inside your site, because it will declare an elements variable here, and it's a constant, so it might conflict with existing elements declared like this, and will create an error on front end. So you should be really cautious. Ideally, you should know what you're doing when you're doing things like this, okay? So you just don't import trash code and break things inside your site. And of course, Advanced Themer, we won't be responsible of importing bad code inside your site, okay? So I hope you know what you're doing, okay? But anyway, we just inserted HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and you see we have here some option. So in the import, we can decide to include the IDs, okay? So for example, if there is figure and let's say ID Maxim, okay, we can decide to either skip it or to include this ID inside the elements. Let's just include it. You can decide also to include the IDs but exclude some particular ones. So for example, if I say Maxim now, the ID won't be imported, right? And you can separate with okay. Everything is explained here. You can include the classes. So if you have a class like this, Maxim class, you can import it as a class, and by default it will be inserted inside the CSS class control of bricks. But you also have the ability to generate a global class if it doesn't exist. So if you actually activate it and Maxim class doesn't exist yet on your website, it will create the global class as well, okay? We can do it, so just we can show you. I can show you how it works and include attributes. In this case, I will make data value equal a Maxim. Okay, we just inserted an attribute, and again you can decide, for example, if you want to import this fancy card but you don't want to import these particular images, you can, for example, exclude the source attribute and it will include the images, etc., but it won't include the source. So you can actually manage these settings like you want. Okay, let's import and see what it creates. So first of all, it creates a root container, okay, where all the code inside is inserted. If you are probably on production, this is a simple div without any kind of styles, okay, and you can either remove it. For example, if the import didn't went correctly, you can just delete this parent container and all the code will be deleted. And if you're happy with it, but you don't want this extra parent, you can just use another function from Advanced Themer, which is delete, but delete moves children up. So you end up with only the root elements here. But for now, let's just keep it. It just doesn't have. As you see, we have some code running here, but we need to execute the code. So everything is here in the code element. Okay, we see that we have our CSS in the CSS space and the JavaScript here. Okay, but in order to apply inside the builder, we need to execute code. Okay, and now we see that we imported an article, a figure. Inside the figure, we inserted these three images, and the source is applied correctly. Okay. And if we go on the div, or the figure, where we included our Maxim class here, it should also have a class. Let's move it here. Sorry. We see that it has, in attributes, our data value Maxim correctly inserted. Okay. And in class ID, Maxim is the ID, so it's correctly imported all the information inside the native bricks controls. Okay, if we now over on the card, you see that we have our fancy effect. Okay, so this is an example on how to import Codepen. Of course, keep in mind that importing these things you need to know what you're doing, but because again, if we check now the CSS from here, let's go full screen, which is another feature from Advanced Themer. You see that this is the CSS generated, okay? But we see, for example, we have some declaration, like on the body, on the article, that will apply on all your page, okay? Maybe you're not willing to put a background black on all your page, so you might need to refine this to your need, okay? Because when you import for Codepen, you need these kind of big declaration like body and things like this. In your site, you probably don't want to target these massive selectors, okay, and narrow down the styles on your particular component, okay? So use it if you know what you're doing. If you're sure you're not going to break your website, either way, be cautious when you do these things, okay? It's fancy, but it can also create some issues, okay? But that's not it. Okay, so it works. We can save it and check the front end really quick, and you see that our card is working perfectly using only bricks native elements, which is super cool. Okay, but that's not it. We can use the Codepen importer not to import Codepens, but we can also import HTML, basic HTML. So let's delete this, and delete this, and let's say I want to create a section, okay, with ID Maxim bis, okay. At some point, I have no idea anymore. Okay, and let's create, I don't know, a div. Okay, with class tests. Okay, let's close it, and let's say an h1. Oops, h1. You see that we have auto suggestion with contain hello internet. Okay, I don't want to insert any CSS or JavaScript, just this section, div, and an h1. Okay, I keep the settings, everything included, import, and you see that it creates the section, the div, and the heading with hello internet. Okay, sorry. So you can use it, of course, in a more broad way. Okay, if you are more keen to write HTML and transform all the elements into bricks elements, you can just use this parser here. Okay. Finally, I want to show you a couple of things, a couple of ideas. The first is Emmet. So you can write Emmet using this HTML parser. Let's make section. Okay. And Emmet is like div 4. Okay, let's add a class named Maxim class. Okay, and let's just do tab, I believe, and it will create our section with 4 divs and the Maxim class. Okay, tab will actually transform the Emmet code into HTML. Okay guys, another feature that I want to show you is the AI structure, the generated structure. So let's go in the theme settings, let's go in the builder tricks, structure panel, and make sure to activate AI generated structure here, okay? And also make sure, of course, to have a valid API key for OpenAI, okay? Let's go back to the builder, and you see now we have a new icon, generate structure with AI. Okay, let's open it. I'm going to delete this. And it's actually pretty similar to the Codepen, except you are not going to pass your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but AI is going to generate it for you based on your prompt, okay? So you see here is a prompt, and on the right you have some settings. So you can decide to generate global classes if the generated classes from AI don't exist on the site yet, just like we explained before with Codepen. We can tell AI to use BEM classes. You can also ask AI you can include the global variables and color variables inside your prompt just by checking these buttons. And by the way, once it's activated, you can decide which kind of category you want to include. Okay, so these categories are, I'm referring to the variables. You see that we have a typography category. Okay, and we can decide to include the variables inside it. The same thing goes with the color manager. You can decide to select the palette that you want to include inside the prompt. Okay, and there is my palette. You can decide to include this one if you want to. Okay, right now I'm not going to include this. By the way, of course, we are limited in tokens, so if you have hundreds of global variables and colors, I would probably suggest to keep it disabled, because of course this is the beginning of the AI revolution, and there are limitations in the prompts. And by the way, under the hood, there are some prompt engineering to generate these things. Okay, so it's quite heavy as an action. So it works if you have a contain number of global variables and colors, but otherwise keep it disabled. And generate labels for each element, so it will generate labels, custom labels inside your structure. Okay. Right, let's dive into it, and let's create. First of all, I want to create a section because I want it to be contained. Okay, and I'm going to ask create 3 column grids inside the grid. I want 6 articles. Each article should contain an image, a title, a description, and a button. Okay. Make sure the grid is responsive on all devices. Okay. Let's click generate. And yeah, be aware that, like I said before, there are a lot of prompt engineering here, so it may take quite some time, so probably 10 to 20 seconds to generate it, because it's generating 2 prompts actually to make sure that the resulting data is correct. Okay, so and now it generated first the structure. Okay, and by the way, you see that it correctly assign custom labels. So we have article, image, title, and description, just like we asked. Okay, and we have our CSS code here. So in order to apply it, we need to execute it, and it's working. Actually, it's working. We have our 6 article with a nice effect when we hover the grids. And we also have a color transition here on the bottom. It's not that bad. It's not that bad, okay? But where it shines is the structure. So the structure is correct. We have an article which is correctly with the correct tag, image, H2P, and button, just like we asked, right? And on each of them, he added the correct global class. We have grid item, grid image, grid title, grid description and a grid button. Okay, which is not bad actually. Well, what you can do, of course, is copy the code here. Let's just delete the code right now. Open the advanced CSS. Let's put it here. No, wait. Let's create a new file, my grids. Okay, and I can pass my declaration here, and it should be correct again. Yeah. And you can make, maybe we don't want this body, that will affect all our website, right? And you can make your change inside advanced CSS, and you can also actually ask AI to improve or add more code to your grid. Okay, so that is a workflow that might work. That if it doesn't create the correct styles on the first go, okay, instead of redoing the structure each time, you can just keep the structure, because AI is quite good in generating quality structures. On the style, however, you might want to refine with better prompts and make some tests, right? But that's it. We generated an entire section, an entire grid, just by using a simple prompt, right? Cool, super cool. Okay, let's go ahead and see the next feature. The next feature I want to show you is the generated code tab, which can be enabled here, generated code, inside the elements tab of the builder tricks. And just for the quality of life, I'm also going to, in the left tab shortcuts, I'm using the left tab shortcuts, I'm going to add the generated code icon, just to click it faster. Okay? So once you've done it, let's go back to the builder and select any element, let's say article. You see that now we have a new icon, generated code. Okay, let's click on it. And it will show two things: the generated CSS, but it's just a read-only. Okay, and we see right now we have no styles applied to this particular element. And we also have the generated HTML. Okay, this is what Bricks will print inside your front end. Okay, so let's just make sure it works. Let's just change, let's make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sorry. And let's go back to the generated code. You see that now we see that on the global classes here, okay, we have the widths, minimum widths, and all those styles, okay. Probably we don't want this on the class level, but if I change now on the element, okay, and retry it, 1, 2, 3, generated code, and you see that now element div it's not on the global class anymore, and we have this style created from Bricks. Okay, we can't delete it or edit it. Okay, it's not both way, but it's just to show you what is going on in the Bricks settings. Now let's remove the styles. Remove this one. Let's go back to the generate code. Now we see we have an article here. Or let's go to the description. It's easier. Now we see we have the description here, and we see that it has an ID. The classes are there are classes from Bricks, so the text basic here, even if you delete it, it will just stay, because Bricks just Enqueue its own CSS. You can't change this. But we have also our grid description, the one we created with AI, and the text. Okay, so the cool thing in the generated HTML is you can actually change things, and we are going to reparse the HTML, and it will apply on the element. So maybe instead of a P we want a span. Okay, let's change the tag. Maybe we don't want this grid description, but we want also a Maxim superclass, okay? And we want to change the description, and we want to say hello internet, okay? Now, once I'm done, I change and let's change also the ID, and we will call it super ID, okay? Because it's a super element. Okay, let's parse the HTML, and you can directly see that hello internet has been modified on the code. But let's go back here and see what exactly changed. Okay, so in the class ID we have a new class, the Maxim superclass that I just added, and the super ID, right? Let's see if it changed also the HTML tag, which is not a P anymore, but it's a span, and the content is correctly set as hello internet. So this is just to show you that you can actually edit the generated HTML code in this editor, parse the HTML clicking on the bottom here on the bottom, and it will reapply everything on the element, which is pretty cool, I think. Okay, next one. And the next feature I want to talk about is the quick search. So the quick search, it's a super powerful and easy way to search content, create classes, assign classes, create variables, assign variables, a lot of custom action that you can do with a really quick shortcut, which is Command F if you use Mac, or Control F if you're using Windows. Let's just do it. Make sure that you focus on the window, otherwise it will trigger the window command, okay? But if you are inside the window, so just click anywhere inside the window to make sure here or anywhere inside the window, and just do Command F, and you see that we have now a new prompt, a new search bar, okay, where you can search anything. And let's just make a test, right? Let's just make E. Okay, just to see the different option we have is what now. So as you can see, we have different categories. Okay, the global classes, the global variables, the team variables if you're using it. I'm not using it right now, so there is nothing selectable here. Elements and structure. Okay, and of course all, which is an overall of all the options that you have available, but you can then refine your results going to each of these categories. Of course, they are draggable. Okay, you can of course scrollable. Sorry, and okay, and you see that we have different options here. Let's say that let's change the article into Maxim again. Okay. And let's say I want to jump on Maxim. I'm not sure where I am. I'm on the section here somewhere. And I want to jump on Maxim. I'm just going to write Maxim, and I see jump to element inside the structure. Okay? Just clicking here, and now Maxim is selected. And I can apply my style and change everything. Okay? That's one thing. Or let's say I want to create now new content inside my structure. So I want to add my section. For some reason you don't like to use the right shortcut, okay? Let's just create it using this feature. So section, I'm going to make enter, and I want a heading. You will find a heading. Okay, I have my heading. And maybe I want to create some element that are not part of my shortcuts. Let's say the post title. Okay, find the post title, and it will add the post title correctly here. Okay, you see that on the overall, so on the all category, it's limited to three results, but it will show you that 2 more matches. So if you click on it, you will see also, you will jump on the element and see other elements that match the post, so the related post and the post navigation. Okay. So it's an easy way to filter element to create container, icons, etc., etc. Okay. So this is one thing. Okay, let's create and jump on elements inside the structure. The second is to assign or create classes and variables. So let's select my container here, and let's say I want to, I think I have an article, right? No, I have a grid for sure. I don't have, let me see the global classes. Oh no, I'm on element, sorry. Let's go back to all. And let's do grids, and I want to assign grid item. By the way, I don't have to click on it. I can navigate with the arrow key or the tab key too. Okay, and the same thing for the categories on top. On right and left will jump on the specific category, right? But let's say I want to assign grid item to this element. Just enter, and you see grid item has been added. And if I want to assign grid and grid 3, okay, all the classes have been assigned. Let's say now I don't want to assign an existing class, but I want to create a new class on this element, and I'm going to write new class, and you see that I have the option here, new class. Just enter, and my new class has been created and assigned to the element. And if I now check, I don't have to refresh anything, but you see that the global class now exists. It doesn't ask you if you want to create it, but it's just offer you to add it from this the quick search window. Okay. The same thing works for the global variables, but for the global variables you need to be sure that you click from text control. So for example, we want to assign a variable for the flow grow. I'm going to click here and now make Command F and search for a variable. So I think font, okay. And I can assign font size 2, for example. It will correctly include the font size 2 here, right? If for the shrink, I want to create a variable, so let's see, shrink var, okay, and we are going to create a new global variable. Okay, it correctly opened the CSS manager, variable manager, sorry. It added the shrink var to the variable list. It's already focused on the input, so we can say red, for example. Okay, totally wrong, but it doesn't matter. Let's close it, and you see that the var shrink var has been correctly added to the flex string control. Okay, so this is a faster way to create your global variable, assign it to your control, and directly open the variable to the manager to assign the correct value. Super useful. So for now, this is, of course, the introduction of the quick search, but I want to add a lot of new action here. So, for example, I don't know, open the class converter, anything, hide an element, hide on front end, hide on back end, any kind of custom action I want to add here. And so you just have to make a Command F, search for hide element, for example, and the custom action comes here. You don't have to dig inside the controls, just enter hide element and it's done, and you move on with your life. So here it is. This is the first iteration of this feature, and I think it's really great and can improve greatly your workflow. Okay guys, now I'm going to go through a list of improvements or minor additions, but they are still worth a shot in this video. So the first one is the code element tweaks, which is this one inside the elements tab of the builder tweaks. If you enable code element tweaks, and you now, let's open a code element, you'll see that we have a new option here on to go full screen for the PHP and HTML field, same for the CSS, and same for the JavaScript. Okay, so now inside the code element, you can go full screen when editing your code. This is just the beginning. I decided to call it the code element tricks because I'm probably going to add more features to this, but this is the first one, and I think it's pretty neat. The second one is the sync elements label with the first global class name. So if you go into the class and styles, you'll see that there is a new option here, sync elements label with the first global class name. What does it mean? It's let's say you create a heading here, and you create the first class. Okay, this is my first class. Okay, when I will enter here, you see that my label, this is my first class, is automatically added to the element. Okay, so this allows you to just focus on adding the class, and the label is automatically set for you if you don't want to write both the same thing, right? And it works. It also works for BEM classes. If I say block title, okay, this is not the first class anymore, right? So the label didn't change. And if there is already a custom label, it won't apply. Okay, it will apply only if there is no custom label set. So if I add a new heading now and say block title, okay, and you see now it's called title, okay, because the block is the block and the title, you just take the title. If I now say block, it will be block, etc., etc. So it supports the BEM naming, right? Okay, let's go to the SuperPowerCSS. There are a series of improvements here. Okay, the first one is that it now supports the global mixin mixin on partials that you set inside the advanced CSS. So let's say in my partial, I'm going to say color red, right? And if I now, let's just move on just to be sure it's mounted. And we will say roots, background color, and we will say red. Oh, by the way, it's not working because I didn't enable SASS for SuperPowerCSS. So let's just make sure that SASS is enabled. We need to go into elements, and we need to go in SASS integration here. Enable it, save settings. Let's restart. Okay, let's go into the advanced CSS. We'll go in partials, color, red. Okay, let's remove the old structure. Let's go in heading, CSS. Now SASS is enabled here, and we can do background, and let's say red. And normally it should apply. I'm not sure why it doesn't. Let's see if it's working correctly. Color, why it's not working. Background blue. Okay, something is not working here. Okay, no, it's not red, it's color. Okay, that's my bad. So the background is taken from the mixin from here, okay? The mixin of the partials. Same with mixin, you can include your mixin from here. It will be automatically updated. The second thing I want to show you, let's ask our friend AI to create some classes. So create classes for sorry, let's create a class with a bunch of properties. Okay. Bunch of properties. Thank you. I just need this one. Okay. And we will copy paste here. You see, we have now random properties. It doesn't really matter which one is it. And there is this new feature which is called Variabilize CSS. And what it does, it will take all the values from the properties and declare the corresponding variables and do all the job for us. So everything in this class will be variables. Let's give it a try. Variabilize CSS, and you see it created inside the root of our document all the variables with the values that were initially inside the class. And then it applied all these variables inside our class. So we variabilized our class. Okay? So this can be useful if you want to create a bunch of scoped variables. This is a one click and you get all the variables from your elements in here that you can reuse on another classes, on your root components, etc., etc. Okay? Another really cool, it could be a game changer for some people, but yeah, it's the new feature. I'm going to create some styles. Let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Okay, so I created values inside the UX of bricks. And now what I want to do is I'm just want to focus on the custom CSS. I don't care about the UX values. I want to center, to put every single values inside custom CSS so I can just use CSS to customize my element. And now you can do this with this convert UX values to CSS. Let's just click on it. And you see that now we have our values, all the widths, min widths that we set previously inside our layout. Okay, it's now available inside CSS. And if I click layout now, you see that all my values here have been removed. So now I don't have to search which inside the UX which values have been modified and play with the controls. I can just focus on one source of truth, which is my CSS, and start modifying or adding more properties into it. Okay, this is a great way to focus just on custom CSS for the folks that love working with CSS. Okay, another addition in the SuperPowerCSS is now it uses Emmet. Okay, so you can do margin top, I guess, and it will create with tab, it will create margin top. Okay, or I don't know, margin 10, I think it will create margin 10 pixel. Okay, font size, I guess it's font size, it will be big questi, this one, and it will create font size or font size 10, like this tab, and font size 10 pixel. Okay, so Emmet is supported now inside the SuperPowerCSS. And also all the other editors in AT, so it will work in the advanced CSS tab, the class manager, and the Codepen, like we showed before. Everywhere Emmet is enabled now. Okay, so this is for SuperPowerCSS. The other one I want to review is the plain class. So if you go element shortcuts, you know that before the plain class is this icon, right? Plain class, you click on here and you open the plain class manager. Some of you guys ask if we can set the plain class as the default global class speaker. And now there is this option. Okay, so you can enable it. Save settings, And now you don't have to click on the icon to open the plain class. It's just the default, again here, it's just the default picker now. So if I just click here, okay, it will open plain classes. And you can start managing your classes through this model. Okay. Another addition to the plain class is now if you say you want to add one class and then two classes, okay, two classes. If I just hit enter now, it will add both the classes to my element, okay. And if I reopen it and let's say I want to add grid button, I just have to click on it, that it will add to the element. And if I want to add multiple classes to this element, I just hold down shift and I'm adding multiple classes to the element. And when I'm done, I can just save my classes here and it will add everything to my element. Okay, so there is a new, before this implementation, you weren't able to enter here. Enter would not create any event. And I think it makes sense that when you are inside this editor, when you click enter, it will just save your classes like it's supposed to do. Okay? A little addition to the dynamic data model. So if we go now, let's go, let's try to find an image maybe. Okay, the dynamic data. If I click on dynamic data, it will open the dynamic data model. Okay, and now you see that if you hover into any of these, let's make pause, any of these dynamic data, you have a new icon here, copy tag to clipboard. If you click on it, it will be attached to your clipboard and you can just copy paste everywhere that you need this this dynamic data. Okay, this is a really light edition, but now there are some cases where the dynamic data doesn't pick really well the value, and sometimes it's just quality of life to be able just to copy the one that you want and paste it where you want to be. Okay, the variable manager now. This is also quite nice, I believe. Now you're able to add a value. Let's say I want to add my variable, okay? But I don't want, sorry, no need to have to like this, my variable. But you don't want to set any value here because this variable is already declared somewhere else. Let's declare it in advanced CSS. Okay, I'm going to go global. Let's remove it. We don't need anymore. Let's create roots. Okay, and we want to set our variable to be red. Okay, and let's say you have a bunch of variables already set from your particular framework or your particular file. Okay, you just want to be able to use the variable picker, but you don't want to redeclare this variable. The value is fine. You just want to be able to set it inside. Let's take an heading, for example. It will be pretty clear. So my variable now will be 15 pixels, right? And just to make sure, because before there was a priority issue with bricks, I don't know if they fixed it yet, but let's just repeat the root so we have a major priority inside the builder. But normally it won't be necessary. Okay, you just using root should be enough. But now I want to set my variable heading to the font size. So let's go here, font size, and you maybe I didn't save it. Oh, it's uncategorized. My variable here. You see, even if I hover, my variable, even if it has no value inside the variable manager, has a 50 pixel size because it has already been declared inside my global SCSS. This opens a lot of new possibilities. And by the way, if some of the framework authors are looking this video, this will be really great to let people use your variable without redeclaring it. And so people can manage, use the variable picker inside bricks, even if you already declare these variables, and make your user life easier. Okay? There is, let me see, okay, yeah, you can also, always in Variable Manager, if you want to import a bunch of variables, you can open the import, this feature, right, import CSS variables, and now you can also import a bunch of variables, let's say, var1 red, did I put 2? No. Okay, var2 blue, etc., etc. Imagine adding tons of them. And now you have a new option here, skip values. You can enable it. Okay, it erased. This is a bug I need to fix. So red and blue var2 blue. Okay. And if this skip values is enabled, when I import values, okay, maybe I did something wrong with the previous one. Okay, I don't know why just one. Let's redo it. var1 red and var2 blue. Maybe I missed the semicolons. Okay, skip values is set, import variables, and now we have our two variables declared, but you see that red and blue haven't been imported because if you are using this feature, it assumes that these variables are declared somewhere else, just like we did with my variable. So you can do the same thing that we did before, but just by importing the CSS variables. Okay. Enough for the variable manager. Let's talk about the variable picker. This was highly requested in the past. That some of you guys didn't really enjoy having the Vue icon inside all the field to open the variable picker. Now the variable picker has a new option here, the variable picker event. And you can select if you want the view icon or the right click. Okay, if you select the right click and save, and you go to any control where you usually would add a variable, just right click and it will open the variable picker. You can select it, and now it's good to go. Any of the previews, you see there is no Vue icon anymore, but I can click on any one of them, select, and it will open the variable. Just as easy. I just need to just see this bug right now. It's opened the browser contextual menu, and I need to stop that. But anyway, it will be fixed for the final release, of course. Okay, so this is, let me check which point I want to focus. The color manager, okay, there are two new actions I want to show you in the color manager. The color manager is here. The first one is, let's create a new palette. Okay, and let's create a color, let's say primary, okay. Now, two things. You see that we have a little icon here, which when hovered, you see color. It means that you are declaring a color. Just like the CSS variables we saw previously, you can just set now your colors, any of it, and it will assign this color to the variable, right? But you may want to import inside your palette variables that are declared elsewhere. And so you can change it to Vue, clicking here, and we assume that primary is declared somewhere else. So, for example, let me open Advanced CSS, and I'm going to create colors. Okay. I'm going to make sure that it is enqueued inside the builder so I can see the color, right? And now I'm going to, let's also make it, let's make it a CSS, a normal CSS, no SASS. And I am going to say roots and primary, and we'll say green. Okay. Normally, if I reopen now, we see that we have our green color because the primary, the var primary, has been declared somewhere else. Sorry, and so you are saying don't declare any new variables. The variables already exist. It's called primary. Just refer to it. Okay. And this is also really helpful if you are building your own your own framework with all the color variables, but you still want to use the picker, right? So if I go to the background now and I want to set my var primary, you see that the picker is correct, it's green. And if you click on it, my background color here is green, just as it's supposed to be. But maybe you don't want to create your own palettes with the color manager. You feel more comfortable to use your own framework using maybe Advanced CSS or your own framework using custom code. You can do this and integrate inside the core palette of bricks. Okay, and of course you can do the same thing like we did for the variables. You can import massively, so you can say let's say red, and let's say blue. Okay, import as let's copy before. Okay, let's import as variables. Okay, I knew that. Okay, let's import as variables. So let's keep the values. Import colors, and you see that red and blue have been correctly imported as variables. Okay, and since these variables haven't been declared yet, there is no colors. By the way, you can't open the color picker here because this is not managed by AT anymore. It's managed by yourself. So to make it work, you need to reopen Advanced CSS. And let's make red. Okay. And let's make blue. Okay. And now if we reopen the color manager, we will have red and blue. Right, so hope it's clear. Let's move on to the next thing, which is really a neat feature for those that want to play with advanced properties of the colors. You can now, let's delete these for now, we don't need them anymore. And let's create our primary color. Okay, and let's assign a red color to it. Now we will see that we have a new action here, a new icon, add property declaration. We can enable this on this color. Okay, and if we do this, it's a bit complicated to explain, but I'll try to explain on the front end. Let's open the front end and let's inspect here, and let's see our primary color. By the way, in the new version, when you declare a main color, so not a shade but a main color, you see that our primary has been declared correctly, and it also declared the hue, the saturation, and lightness. Okay, so you can also create a complex CSS function and recompose your color as you want. If you are building your framework, this will be great. But I'm not sure if I can. Okay, yeah. You see on the end here the property. Oh, by the way, we wrongly added. We don't need this. I can't rename it. Oh, okay, rename it. We don't need these two here. Okay, let's refresh. Did I save it? Not sure. Okay, now you see that the primary here has been declared as a property, okay, with the correct syntax color, initial value, the value that we set, and it's set to inherits true. By doing this, I mean, for most of you guys, it may not make a difference if you're just using static colors on your website. But the fact that you are able to set this color with the new property, make it in a way that your browser will identify this variable as a color, and thus it will be able to animate it inside complex environments, such as linear gradients, for example. Let's say primary. Let's create a secondary too. I will just show you in a second what I mean by that. Let's make a blue. Okay, and we'll create a property too. Okay, how I'm going to do that? Okay, let's ask AI to create this for us because I'm feeling really lazy. So create, I don't know, color, let's say, test color red. Okay, and we will say change the color to be a linear gradient. Okay, use the variables primary and secondary as the color values. Okay. Okay, perfect. This is what I want. Okay, just going to remove it for now. Let's go into our section. Okay, let's go in CSS, create roots, and we create our background. Logically, it will create this ugly background. Okay, but now what I want to do is to animate these colors. Let's say that on roots, on root over. Okay, I want to redefine this color. I want that primary becomes green and secondary becomes yellow. Okay, it will be really crap, but okay. And let's make a transition. I think it's background. Or can I? Maybe I can do this. I can maybe do primary is. Okay, and this secondary is. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it works. Okay, I'm just going to save it. And see on front end, I need more. Let's make it bigger. I need to make a min height of like this. Okay. Save, and you see that now I animated this gradient on over. This is not possible in vanilla CSS without declaring your property. because the browser doesn't know that primary is a color. It needs to know if he wants to animate a linear gradient. And this is why this new property here has been added to the global color manager. Okay, the last thing I want to say is the keyboard shortcuts have been improved. In my opinion, have been improved, because now they are not conflicting anymore with the window, but just like as I said initially, the difference between the new implementation and the previous one is to have effect, you need to click inside the builder, okay? Anywhere, it doesn't matter. You can click in the preview, inside the structure, inside the element. I mean, the browser need to be selected. Once the focus has been set anywhere on the page, then you can use any, let's open the AT menu, any of these shortcuts and set any key, to be honest. It won't conflict with the browser and it won't conflict with the bricks shortcuts. So you can also override existing shortcuts from bricks. It doesn't matter because it will prevent the other events, and it will take the priority for the AT shortcuts. But let's say I'm going to change focus, and I know I do Command F. Oh, now it works. But let's say I don't know how to. Okay, Command F now. Okay, I just click on the browser search bar, and now Command F triggered the browser search. Okay, if I can come back and click inside the builder, Command F. Okay, click inside the builder, Command F. It will open the quick search. Okay, so in a way it's an improvement because it won't conflict anymore with the browser. But keep in mind that if you are heavily using the keyboard shortcuts, just need to take this new habit to click inside the browser anywhere to trigger the shortcuts. And that's it, guys. Time to finish this video. It's already too long. Sorry about it. But like you see, a lot of new features. I have no time to cover everything in this release. There are other improvements and fixes inside it. You tell me if you like what you just saw. Is this a new era for bricks or for Advanced Themer? What do you see in the future? I'm pretty interested to see your comments, and let's catch up for the next release, guys. Bye-bye.